Smushed daisies link the gaps in the cement together like a constellation. I skip the cracks, avoiding Orion's belt and nebula, and lift my chin to see the sun's brightness shining on the crystal exterior of the home. Ash and blue bricks stacked like Jenga blocks all the way to outer space. This place could scrape the stars from the sky. I could try and try, if I stretched my toes from here to Timbuktu, to reach as high, but that castle kept going and growing and glowing with the summer air. Inside, a lamp beamed gently on the velvet curtains, ignited lace bodices adorned with intricate passementeries, as if each embroidered applique clutched a precious pearl or diamond. The room was a perfect printout of a Harper's Bazaar catalog. How truly Victorian and Victor-esque the home appeared. Through the window, a breeze grabbed my hair, tugged at my blouse, and coaxed my tiny toes further into the Goliath-sized dollhouse. I delicately traced my purple polka dot fingertips along the groove of the gold-trimmed walls. I sensed through my suede glace gloves that this skyscraper square could magnificently shatter like porcelain or glass. Now don't do anything crass. Oh, but how daintily I danced, with my taffeta skirt bouncing each time I plie and leap across the marbled hardwood floors. Feeling more content and less like Alice, this place is much less like a home and much more like a palace.
Many women spend their calm Sunday mornings sinking their shoulders with comfort against the wooden arms of their cushioned rocking chairs. They'll carefully contort their bodies into a slumped, curvy S position as steam from a mug of black coffee rolls and billows up into their nostrils. Perhaps they'll play their favorite record and ignore the gentle scratches as they reach for a new romance novel. My mother, Victoria, finds no pleasure in any of these activities. She sits royally, like a temple, ragged and hard around the edges, on an imaginary velvet-padded throne. The queen bee. Her fingertips flutter through Harper's Bazaar like waxy wings, furiously vivacious, as a disappointed, disapproving leaks out of her cynical, stoic lips. Every 5 or more pages or more, an appreciative struggles its way between her teeth.
Curtains are lovely things. With the slightest puff of air, they lift off the floor and dance like a pitiful plastic bag swelling and exhaling through the sky, hoping to capture a tiny cloud. Upon moving into the mansion with my family, the first thing I did was weave the edge of the olive-colored curtains between my fingers, and I felt the fabric breathe with ease. Silken threads kissed my rough skin, and I fingered my way down to the hem, a light gray laced border with silver flower silhouettes and crystal stamens. My mother spoke highly of the empty room and pictured the furniture we would bring and decided to install stained glass windows in the living room. I let out a gasp of excitement as I imagined how wonderful it would look, like a children's storybook. When the cars passed by at night with their lights guiding them, those shining lights would bring the windows to life, and the kaleidoscope images would tango on the flesh of the curtains.
We moved into the house on April 18th, 1914, which was 4 days before my 10th birthday. My mother and father unpacked their things quickly so that we could prepare for my big birthday bash.
I was most excited because it was going to be my first girl-boy party, and I wanted it to be unforgettable. My father, Victor, and I spent the following 2 days creating rainbow streamers, paper lanterns, and blowing up balloons, while my mother and I stayed up late one night to bake vanilla cupcakes with a swirly meringue icing. She dusted rainbow sprinkles on every single one until each was perfectly adorned. Oh, the anticipation nearly killed me, and I laid wide awake in bed thinking about my special day. I could even hear the crinkle of wrapping paper being smoothed down over my gifts. The next morning, I woke with the birds, robins, doves, and sweet chickadees benevolently singing birthday wishes to me. I slipped into my white tulle dress with pink and green polka dots, and then laced the pale jade ribbon around my waist. I wriggled my toes into embroidered socks and fit ballerina slippers around my feet. Then I sat and brushed my hair in my bedroom vanity until I was certain that my cherry curls wouldn't untangle from my comb's deadly teeth, and, thus, entire scarlet ringlets would be ripped out and thrown to the floor. It was hard to believe that during the first night I slept inside that house, it felt like I could get lost in its eternal hallways. But now it's so serene. As I descended down the marble staircase, a mewing black ball of fur greeted me with its sandpaper tongue and retractable claws. I shrieked with joy and scooped up the little kitten into my arms. Her polished golden eyes glowed like a Chinese lantern and jovially blinked up at me. She extended her neck to receive my palm as I reached down to pet her. Deedle was the name I whispered into her fluff-tipped ears, and she purred against my chest, rhythmically vibrating like a heartbeat. Before I showed Deedle to my friends and let them all have a turn playing with her, I contemplated what little kittens dream of when living in such an enormous home. She must have dreamt of sewers. Endless, spacious sewers, or about climbing the budding trees to pilfer the speckled eggs out of my bird's nest. Finally, when my mother brought out the cake, it was surprising to see that the 3 delicious tiers had an under-the-sea theme. On the bottom tier, there were crashing waves and different shades of blue icing and French straggis, which were pressed like pearls into the fondant oyster shells. The middle tier had colorful icing starfishes, bordering the edge, and a variety of milk, white, and dark chocolate seashells all around the cake. The top tier, which was my favorite of course, included an island made of sprinkled sand and a fondant palm tree. A little girl who looked like me sat on the island with a long fishing pole, and on the end of the string was one yellow and red fish. 9 other fish heads poked out of the icing to symbolize that I was turning 10. The party continued with games and singing, and the girls even got to spend the night. This was definitely one of my favorite memories about living in the home.
By the time 1937 came around, I had long moved out of my beautiful fortress on St. Louis Avenue, married a man unlike my father, and was expecting my first child. My parents were getting older and decided to sell the home to the Liebner Funeral Home Services. The funeral home carpeted over the cherished hardwood floors that I used to glide across. They bought plain, cotton blue curtains and kept the windows closed. How unfortunate it was to think that those fabrics would never waltz and twirl. However, what was even more difficult to see was the failed attempt at the neighborhood restoration project, known best as the Northside Regeneration. Paul McKee fueled the controversial Northside Regeneration movement that cost nearly $1.5 million. He bought out acres of St. Louis land in order to properly rehab old buildings into beautiful homes. He wanted less segregated neighborhoods in North St. Louis. McKee may have bought homes with the intention of restoration and renewal of a vital piece of St. Louis, but his project remains unfinished. He obtained a myriad of homes and left them vacant and abandoned until weather, thugs, or under maintenance destroyed the once lovely homes.
Paul McKee lied to this city, which is why I took bricks of my now broken home and spelled out what he really is.